Welcome to Coruzant Technologies, home of the Digital Executive Podcast.
Welcome to the Digital Executive. Today's guest is Martin Kawalski. Martin Kawalski is CEO of Snowcookie Sports, a physician and entrepreneur who uses his understanding of physiology and passion for technology to build products that enhance health and performance. Martin, an avid skier, invented wearables that quantify technique in alpine sports and recently launched a new digital ski platform, SKEO, in partnership with Olympian Bode Miller. Before embarking on an entrepreneurial journey, he had dedicated his focus to neuroscience, working in sleep medicine, designing algorithms for pediatric sleep apnea detection. Well, good afternoon, Martin. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. I am thrilled to be recording this podcast with you.
That's amazing. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the time differences that we're in. And I love to do international podcasts. So thanks again. And I know you're hailing out of Europe. So appreciate that. So Martin, let's jump into the questions. You've got quite the background in healthcare as a medical doctor, entrepreneur in technology, and now you're the CEO for SKEO. Could you share with our audience what drives you and what has contributed to your success?
Absolutely, Brian. Honestly, it's a very simple answer. It's curiosity and self-improvement. Allow me to unpack that a little bit. Curiosity about how the human body works. I graduated from a med school, and then I continued to do a PhD in sleep medicine. So that gave me a fairly solid understanding of anatomy and physiology. But I didn't really feel happy in a clinical job. And I was kind of always drawn towards technology. As a kid, I would take my toys apart, hoping to make them go faster. And so I decided to deepen my knowledge of technology, and then I studied exponential technologies at the Singularity University in Mountain View. So in a way, if you combine medicine with technology, with the objective of improving something, whether it's a certain aspect of human body or physiology, you get quantified self. And that resonated very strongly with me, that self-knowledge through numbers. Measure something before you can improve it. And in my current startup, I applied that very mindset. How can I observe, measure something in the sport that I love in order to improve it?
That's awesome. I really appreciate that, how you can take a passion like that and merge it with your education and life experience. Thanks again for sharing that. I do appreciate it, Martin. And Martin, as you know, everybody globally, we've had to all make these major shifts and pivots to adapt to the new normal. Could you share with us what you're doing to help your organization stay relevant in this economy?
I love that question, Brian. Yeah. I can think of two important shifts that took place for us. So number one, focus on my team. I know it's a cliche these days, but we went from remote work accepted to a fully distributed team. Well, what I mean by that is there's literally no central office. I haven't been to what was our Zurich headquarters, Zurich, Switzerland, for more than a year. We live on Zoom, Slack, and very recently, through the inspiration of my Japanese teammates, we started exploring spatial in VR on Oculus Quest. But that's just toys, and that's how the team dynamics. A much more profound change took place on the product level. We used to call ourselves Snowcookie. We built Oreo-sized sensors, we call them cookies, which you put on your skis to measure and improve your skiing technique. It was a 100% single-user product. When the world went into lockdown, ironically, exactly a year ago, we speculated two things would happen. One, it won't be over anytime soon. And by the way, I am still blown away that humanity's developed and tested multiple vaccines in under a year. And B, that our customers, skiers, who love hanging out after a day full of skiing, would have to alter their behavior, much like everybody else, due to requirements of social distancing. And then we thought, okay, so what could we do to our product to help address that stress that comes from the imposed separation? And Snowcookie morphed into SKEO from a single-user focused product to an app where sensors are optional for winter enthusiasts, where, yes, it's still about improving your skiing, but it's much more about challenging your friends remotely to sort of bring back a little bit of what we had to give up.
I appreciate you sharing that story. In this virtual world we live in, Martin, it's amazing how things have kind of come together. I know that's the silver lining in this pandemic, but really the tools that we have today with AR and VR and the virtual tools to allow people to continue on with a regular life or to improve their skiing game, for as in your example. So thanks again. I appreciate that. And Martin, you're obviously leveraging some new and emerging technologies in your tech stack. Is there anything you could share with us that might not be, confidential or non-proprietary?
Hey, Brian, I'm just a wannabe engineer. I only come up with ideas, and much smarter people build them and execute on them. So for specific details, you may need to talk to my engineers. But I will try to give you a high-level overview. Our first product, Snowcookie, was written in Swift, a language native to Apple's walled garden. And SKEO, on the other hand, and we were iPhone only. We literally couldn't afford to do parallel development for other platforms. But SKEO, on the other hand, has been rewritten from scratch. When we made the decision to completely evolve our product, we rewrote everything from scratch using Flutter, a language that allows us to almost seamlessly deploy on iOS and Android at the same time. And now I'm super excited about, I think it was only yesterday, like March 3rd, that Google announced Flutter 2, which will enable us to, at the same time, deploy on iOS, Android, desktop, and web apps. So that's going to be huge.
That's amazing. And Flutter is a great app. We've talked a lot about Flutter on our show here, and you're absolutely right. We're now just innovating, I think, at light speed with some of the things to adapt to everybody's, way of life or how they do business, because everybody is on a different platform. So thank you, Martin. And Martin, last question. People want to know a little bit more about Martin Kawalski. Can you share something from your career experience that would be helpful for those looking to grow their career in either healthcare or technology?
Yeah, I'll try. So please take it with a huge grain of salt, because it worked for me. It doesn't mean that it's going to work for anybody else. I think I was lucky to find a problem I was really passionate about. Simplistic as that thinking might be, I also thought that, okay, I can solve this through technology. It doesn't exist yet. I'm going to invent it, but it can be done. And luckily, I attribute this to my medical training. I think I was humble enough to recognize that I really know very, very little. There are so many weaknesses that I have to prepare for a long journey. I'm not an engineer. I cannot code. Yes, I was a physician, but that also implied that I had very, very little business experience. So I started Snowcookie not with a notion of, okay, I'm going to do a big exit, make a bunch of money, but with a learning mindset. I started thinking about it in terms of, let's have my private MBA. Let's maximize the learning potential and be ready for a really long haul. And I did two things. One is I raised money for that idea in Silicon Valley, but I didn't spend it there. I recruited all my engineering talent offshore in Central Europe, knowing that I'm going to make a ton of mistakes and I'll need time to learn everything. So that was one important thing. And the second one was, as much as, I love this romantic notion of burning your ships behind you and going all in, pursuing your passion. That's not what I did. I kept my medical job throughout 4 out of 5 years of this journey, simply to minimize the burn and maximize the runway.
Absolutely. I love your story. And a lot of people do sometimes have to, as they say, bootstrap your business to get it going, to maximize that runway, as you stated. But I do appreciate your story. It's very unique. Healthcare and technology merged together, which is my background. I've been a technologist in healthcare for 20 plus years. So thanks again for sharing. And Martin, it was a pleasure having you on today. And I look forward to speaking with you real soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Brian.
Bye for now.